Hello! Welcome back or to Oh My Bookishness. I'm gonna start this video by saying I have a bit of a cold and a sore throat, so if my voice sounds funny, that's why. I noticed that I somehow have like 40 subscribers now, and people have been commenting on my videos, which is awesome. Keep doing that. I figured, well, you know, if people are actually paying attention, maybe I should try to give you some content. So today, I'm just gonna be doing a real simple video about how you can get some cheap books, as you probably read from the title of the video. So I own a lot of books, as you can probably see from this lovely backdrop. It's not just a green screen, folks. Oh gosh. But yeah, I own a lot of books, and you might be wondering, Corey, how do you own so many books when you don't make a lot of money? Well, the first answer to that is I've been collecting books for a long time. So many of my middle grade books are like gifts from when I was younger. So a lot of my books from my childhood are gifts or purchased with gift cards. And then a lot of the books that I'm reading now I have purchased with my own grown-up money, and you can't see it because I am blocking it purposefully, but there's a whole shelf down here of TBR books, of books that I have purchased recently and not so recently with my own grown-up money. Some of them are gifts too, but a lot of them I have purchased myself. You've probably seen I do some book haul videos occasionally. So yeah, I'm constantly buying books, and you're probably wondering, Corey, how are you doing that and not, you know, massively in debt? Well, back when I first started watching BookTube, I saw a video by Ebook Utopia, Sasha Alsberg, who, and she did a video about ways to find discounted and cheap books. And it's been a few years since that, and I will link her video down below, but yeah, I figured it'd be kind of fun to do my own version of that with my own thoughts and opinions on things. Before we get into the main subject of the video, of course, I just wanted to briefly go over what I've been reading lately, and I haven't been reading a lot, but right now I am reading Hilda and the Hidden People, which is part of the Hilda Folk series. Which I first got into because of a cartoon on Netflix, which is a wonderful, like, fabulous cartoon, and you should go watch it right now. Like, stop it and go watch Hilda if you haven't. It's illustrated. It's a fun children's series. There's also graphic novels, which are also really fun. I recommend actually first watching the cartoon and then reading the graphic novels, which is shocking, I know, just because I feel like the cartoon provides so much context for the world, and the graphic novels might be kind of frustrating without that context. Without further ado, here are the ways that I acquire cheap books. Number one is the library, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Corey, you have to give library books back. And I know, I work in a library. That's best practice usually. The librarians really appreciate it when you give your books back that are actually the library books. But there are other ways to get books from the library. And of course, if you are not someone who wants to buy books, or you just don't have the money to buy books right now, a library is a great option to keep reading. When I was a kid, a lot of times, if I didn't have money saved up to buy books, I'd read them at the library, and then later in life I would purchase those books and if I really liked them and thought I wanted to reread them. So a lot of these books that I have, I read at the library first, and then when I got grown-up money, I bought them for myself. But the other way that you can sometimes get books from the library for cheap is if your library has a book sale. Both of the libraries that I work at have book sales pretty regularly. One of them has like a book sale shelf display all year round, and I go through the donations at my job to see which ones go on the shelf, so that gives me a little bit of an unfair advantage when finding fun books from that have been donated for the library, and I do purchase them. I don't just take them, even though it's tempting. But yeah, so that library has like a book sale shelf all year round, and then the other library I work at, they have sales put on, I think it's quarterly, by the Friends of the Library, which is an organization that does fundraising for the library. So check with your local library and see if maybe they have a book sale. A lot of times they will be ex-library books, meaning that they still have like the barcodes and the plastic Mylar covers on them, which if you're fine with that, that's cool. Sometimes though, they don't even have that. This is my copy of A Tale of Two Cities, which I got from a library book sale. It is a really nice copy. Reader's Digest version, something, I don't know, but illustrated. So, you know, sometimes they are just like people donated books and the library either already has a copy of that, or it's in good condition, good enough condition to sell, but not a good enough condition to be used in a library where it's going to have, you know, it's going to be circulated a lot. Okay, number 2 is Book Outlet, which I don't have any examples of books that I got from Book Outlet because I have done, I think, 2 or 3 book haul videos of books that I have purchased from Book Outlet. So if you're curious to see what quality you can get from there, you can go find one of those videos. I'll link one down below. But yeah, Book Outlet has a lot of really, really discounted books. I think it's mostly like get overflow books, or you know, maybe they're not as popular and so the bookstores don't need them. I think they get them like wholesale kind of thing, but the prices are really cheap. It's super convenient. They have a lot of sales all the time, so I of course highly recommend Book Outlet. Number 3, thrifting books, getting books secondhand, whether that be from a consignment store or a charity store or online thrifting. You can find some pretty great thrifted books. I, a lot of times, have good luck at my local Goodwill. I recently found The Night Circus, haven't read this one yet, no spoilers. This like brand spanking new copy of We Hunt the Flame. So that's pretty cool. I haven't read this one yet either, no spoilers. It's nice because lately there's been someone I think who has similar taste to me who's been donating their old books. So I've been lucky in finding a lot of good YA books recently, or children's books even, because you know I love children's books, but sometimes it's not as easy to find at your local stores books that they suit your interests or are ones that you're interested in, you know, because it depends on who lives in your area, who's bringing things into that shop, and a lot of the times the people in your area might not have the same interests as you, but it's always worth a check. It can also be kind of frustrating because you have to go through a lot of books to find gems usually, and sometimes they're not the best organized, so that can be, you know, frustrating. You can also get thrifted books from online. Thriftbooks.com, I believe, is another place that I go to buy cheap books all the time. I will warn you though with that one, a lot of times they won't tell you if it's an ex-library book or not. So I have gotten some books that I was expecting to be, you know, brand new or like new, but then they turned out to be library books without that being mentioned, which is fine for my personal library. I don't mind, but I'm not sure I would recommend buying gifts from there unless it's like in the new or yeah, probably just new condition, which they do have those as well. Number 4 is Pengo Books, which is very similar to the last one in that it's secondhand books. Pengo Books is really fun. I just recently discovered it through TikTok, and it's basically, it's kind of like social media, but for buying and selling books. So I mostly use it for selling books, but I have purchased a few from there as well. And the nice thing is that the seller takes pictures of it and you can see all angles of everything, which is nice. You can also directly message the seller because they're all independent sellers who just sell through the platform of Pengo Books. And so it's nice because you can communicate with the person you're buying from if you're a little bit hesitant. And there are not just books on there. I also managed to find this, which is a book sleeve, which is pretty cool. You can put your book in there to keep it from getting damaged if you have to take it out and about. But this one is I believe it was a Fairy Loot exclusive, and I don't subscribe to Fairy Loot, but I saw this on Fairy Loot's Instagram, and I thought it was so cool, and I was like, ah, oh, that's a shame, you know, I'll never get. And then I found it on Pango Books, and if you can't tell, it's art from, oh gosh, the name is escaping me. Spin the Dawn. It's art from Spin the Dawn. I had to look at it on my shelf to remember what it is, but yeah, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So you can find, see, it's Fairy Loot, but you can find books and occasionally non-book things on there as well. But here's one of the books that I recently got from there. Kiss of Deception. Whoa, this is a pretty good series, by the way. I bought it because I wanted to reread it, and this is one of the ones that, like, I read from the library when I was younger, and then I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, I'd like to reread that because I really enjoyed that story. So, purchased it with my grown-up money for only a few dollars online. Number 5 is Half Price Books. This is a physical bookstore as well as an online bookstore. I've purchased from them both ways. I prefer to go into the physical bookstore because a lot of times, you know, I like to go to a bookstore, you know, it's nice. Unless I'm looking for something super specific online, I won't really go to their website. Finding things on their website, I could probably find it cheaper if I'm looking for something specific from thrift books, because half price is half price. And a lot of times they have cheaper than that too, but you know, for the most part, it's half the price of what you would normally pay. The only problem with half price books is, for me anyways, it's in another county, so I don't get there super often. But it's a nice place to go. You can also sell your books there. The prices that they give you aren't always super great, but it depends on what you bring them. It's a good way to get rid of old textbooks. If you have old textbooks lying around, they buy most textbooks, which is nice. Number 6, Book Depository. So this is actually, I believe it's a UK-based website, but it's really, which is kind of nice because then you can get UK covers if you like the UK covers better. I have to physically stop myself every time I go on that website from ordering the UK covers of Inkheart, because you can find those on Book Depository. A lot of times you can find cheaper books on there. Sometimes it's not that great of a discount price, but their shipping is free worldwide, which is super nice. So if maybe you're looking for a UK cover, but you don't want to pay for UK shipping, Book Depository is your place to go. And the shipping does take a little while because it's free, but it gets here eventually. So if it's not something that you're in a rush for, I definitely recommend Book Depository. And one warning is, so I ordered the entire Red Queen series through Book Depository back when I was like obsessed with those series. So this is the first one, which is pretty standard paperback size. The second one also showed up in pretty standard paperback size. The third one, was a little bit bigger, and I don't know why. I don't know what happened. It does not look great on my bookshelf, but you know, at this point I'm attached to the jumbo one. Number 7 is online and independent publishing. So you might not be interested in having a wall full of books like I am, because I'm a dragon who likes to hoard things, but you know, it's decor. It's beautiful. I love it, okay? But if you're someone who prefers to read ebooks or online books, I have a couple of recommendations for you. These are all free, actually, because I don't know that much about actually getting ebooks because I don't have an e-reader, but I have a couple of free options for you if you're interested in online reading. The first one is check if your library has an ebook collection. My library has ebooks and e-audiobooks through a couple of different platforms. Libby is one of them, which is a very popular library ebook platform. Super easy to use. They have audiobooks on there too, which is really nice because you can just pop an audiobook on your phone and you're ready to go. And then Cloud Library is another one that one of the libraries I work at uses. There's also Hoopla. Check with your local library, see if they have an ebook collection that you can utilize. The other two under this topic are a little bit less reputable sources, but sometimes you just want a trashy read, okay? We get it. Sometimes you just want to read a stupid story that is cliche and fun, and you don't have to use your brain at all for it. And for that, I highly recommend Wattpad. Not to put any shade on Wattpad writers. I've been there, I've published stuff on Wattpad. We're not gonna talk about what I put on Wattpad. You know, I've been there, and there's some good stuff on there too. But there's also a lot of really cliche, trope-filled, fun things. Very escapism. And then the other one I was gonna mention is Fiction Press, which is much less well known. The only reason I know of it is because it's kind of the sister website to fanfiction.net. But we don't need to get into that. Basically, Fiction Press is the same kind of formatting as fanfiction.net, if you're familiar with that, but it's all original works with original characters and everything. And it doesn't get a lot of traffic, which is unfortunate because a lot of the stories on there are pretty good quality. Of course, anybody can post anything on there, so you have to do some sifting. But a lot of the stuff on there is really good. And the nice thing about Wattpad and Fiction Press is that it gives you an age rating. Actually, I'm not sure if Wattpad does any. They probably do. But at least Fiction Press, they give you kind of an age rating. So it's like K, which is like G, K+, you know, which is like PG, T, which is PG-13, and then M for mature, which is like R-rated. So it's kind of nice because if you're, you know, not in the mood to try to figure out, is this a teen book or is this an adult book? There should be a rating on there, which is really nice. And usually the authors will have like author notes every chapter to say, hey, here's what's coming up in here. Here are some trigger warnings for this chapter. And generally, it can be a pretty nice and welcoming community, the online fiction posting world.
For a bit of self-promotion real fast here, I will mention that I have just started posting on Fiction Press. It's fictionpress.com, not .net. I started posting on Fiction Press again. If you're interested, you can check it out. My username is Corgisfield, Corgisfield, and the story that I'm currently posting is called Star-Crossed Nonsense. If you're interested, don't look it up. Just don't. You know, maybe I'll just cut this part out.
Number 8 is Goodreads giveaways and author giveaways. So this obviously isn't guaranteed that you will get a book out of doing this, but I have gotten a few books this way, so I wanted to mention it. Book Utopia mentioned it in her original video that I'm, you know, this video's been inspired by. She's the reason why I even entered these things to begin with, so I thought I would mention them as well. Goodreads.com, if you have an account on there, you can enter giveaways, mainly for advanced reader copies or ARCs, sometimes for other things. A lot of times they're signed, which is really fun. But basically the authors or the publishers putting these giveaways out there so that people can read the book either like ahead of time or just as kind of like a celebration kind of thing, like here's this book. I'll send you a free copy if you win. So every once in a while I'll go through like the young adult ones and look for ones that I'm interested in and then enter my name, and occasionally I'll win one. The last one that I won was this Bones of Ruin one, which still not over this cover. Look how gorgeous. This is a really good book. Very violent. I have a review for it on my blog, but you know, this is an advanced reader copy of it, so it's not an actual, see, it's advanced reader copy, you can see it right there. It's not like an actual copy of the book exactly, but it's got the whole story in there, so you know, it's pretty cool. And whenever I get an ARC, I feel like it's common courtesy to leave a review for it on Goodreads since you won it through Goodreads. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I just find that to be common courtesy. And then sometimes if you follow authors on Instagram, you can also win books from them. A lot of times authors will do giveaways. And again, you know, no guarantees that you're going to, but I have won one. So, you know, it can happen. The one that I won was actually the author of Caravel, Stephanie Garber. Yeah, Stephanie Garber. She was actually doing a giveaway to celebrate her friend who is an author, Stacey Lee. So she's doing a giveaway of The Downstairs Girl, and I happened to win it, which is awesome. And it's so exciting, and this turned out to be a really good book that I stayed up till 4 in the morning to finish. Highly recommend. Number 9, the final way that I am going to share with you today, because that's all that I could think of. Dollar Tree, which I think now should be called a $1.25 tree because gosh darn inflation. Everything's $1.25 there now, which I won't get into it, but I'm salty about. I bet you didn't know that Dollar Tree had books, because I didn't know a while ago, and I just recently learned about it.
Also, Dollar Tree has great party supplies, and if you're buying your party supplies elsewhere, not worth it. Get it from Dollar Tree.
And yeah, so sometimes the books at Dollar Tree are not great, and a lot of times they're just not very good books, but occasionally you'll find a gem. I found Zenith by Sasha Alsberg, who is a book utopia, who I've mentioned a couple times in this video, but I found this at Dollar Tree. Super excited to read it. Also found this children's book, which is about a princess in Venice, so how could I say no? And then I also found this one, which is like a thriller kind of one. So I found some children's and YA there. There's usually mostly adult, but you know, if you do some digging, and you kind of figure out the right days to go to Dollar Tree, you can find some good stuff there. So these days, especially with working at a library, I don't usually pay full price for books, which is nice, and why I have so many of them and why I have a book buying problem is because I know all of these cheap ways to get books, and if you do it enough, then it's no longer cheap because you keep buying them. But that's a problem for another day. I just wanted to wrap this up by saying that while getting cheap books is great and it's awesome, and you know, it can be really great if you're on a budget and everything, if there is an author who you think deserves support and you have a little bit of extra cash, I definitely recommend paying full price for a book now and then. It's so fun too to like go to a bookstore, and even though they're so expensive these days, especially for a hardcover, but there's just something kind of magical about going to a bookstore and picking up a brand new book that nobody else has ever read, and you are going to be the first person to read this copy of this book, and it's going to be great. And there's just something magical about that. Plus, you know, it's nice to give money to the author and help support them if it's an author that you really enjoy or really want to support. So all of that being said, I hope that you can find some good cheap books and that you try out some of these resources. I will link as many as I can down below. And yeah, I don't know how to end this video, so bye!